Okay, my name's Zakashi, guys, and in this video here, this is going to be the best teams of the month, top 5 best teams of the month for this month, the month being July. We pretty much ended off the anniversary, the after party is here. We thought it was completely over, but then they dropped Legend Limited Omega Shenron, but we do know that Ultra Super Saiyan 4 GOGETA has had the most amazing impact on Dragon Ball Legends, or disastrous, depending on what perspective you're looking at it from. Now, this is going to be a 2-part video, which I don't usually do, but a lot of people have been asking for me to make a video on proud battle teams, so that will be its own separate video, but this is going to be standard, so I've had to make that discrepancy just in case anybody, you know, was curious, as I've been getting requested to make a video based on proud battle teams. But yeah, I should also just point out that the teams in this video are not ordered, so the 5th team could be better than the 1st team, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything. I'm just putting the top 5 best teams that I think are dominating PvP right now. So without any more comments, let's get straight into this video. Right, so the first team we're going to be talking about is GT, and I feel like it just makes sense given that Ultra Super Saiyan 4 GOGETA has released. GT has been on the come up and it's finally got its shine, so I feel like it's time to talk about it. Let's look at this team I've got here. I've got Ultra Super Saiyan 4 GOGETA on the leader slot. The missing spot is a character I don't have, which would be Super Baby 2. And we have Ultra Omega, the free-to-play unit who only thrives, or mainly thrives, when there's 3 GT battle members due to how his platinum equip works. We've got a Zenkai buff for one of every character on this team, so G4's getting Zenkai buff by Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Super Baby 2's getting Zenkai buff by Sin Shenron, and then we have Omega Shenron being Zenkai buff by Omega Shenron. So yeah, this is not the only GT team you can run. I'm going to show you the other options as well. So let's get into that. First, you want to go to your character list, go to filter, make sure sparking and ultra is on, change the character tag and find where GT is at. So we're going to press OK and press OK. Now let's look at the blue options here. The only blue option that I think is viable in PvP would be this Bomku here, Universal Spirit Bomb Goku. He has endurance and he cancels buffs from Ultimates, Awakens and Rising Rushes when those are activated coming from the enemy. Not blue cards though, so just bear that in mind. Going into the green options, really and truly, Omega Shenron's like the only guy you should be running. He has Indestructible and he has the little factors of Poison and Heavy Bleed, which will break down the enemy slowly over time. Don't sleep on his damage as well, because he's able to actually fill his gauge pretty easily and then empty it pretty easily, but there is that time account thing, is based on his Dragon Balls. Going into the purples, of course, Ultra Super Saiyan 4 GOGETA. If you don't have him, you might want to reconsider running GT entirely. He is literally the core of the team, and that should go without saying. Going into yellows, we've got Super Baby 2, of course, and we've also got Rage Shenron, who's being used consistently. I've seen he's a good option on the team, so don't sleep on him just because of who he is. And then red, I was choosing to run Ultra Omega because he has endurance, but you could run Super 17 as well. And just something else I want to point out, if we go to extremes, because they are some, or one rather, usable, this guy here is a HP option for your team. If we go to his ability, he buffs HP. He's the EX Goku. You can see I've got him here, the kid. If you want to have a HP option because you don't have the highest stars, you could use him. I'm not even going to talk about the blue Omega Shenron as an EX, even though he is somewhat okay. I'm not going to frontline him and try to say he's actually a contender, you know. So yeah, those are the GT options. Obviously build the team depending on how you want to use it, what characters you have, the stars, etc, etc. But I've showed you who I think is actually viable and who's not viable. In my case, I don't have Super Baby 2, so if I was building the team, I would be slotting in Bomku right there, and it's still GT working effectively. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's going to be the first team for this video. We've got GT, deservedly so in my opinion. Alright, so right here we've got powerful opponents is going to be the second team I'm going to be speaking about. I think this team is actually insane and it's one of the underdog options that you can run. So if we look at the team, I've got Ultra Golden Frieza on the first slot. The second slot is a character I don't have, which is Legend Limited Super Baby 2 Gauge Oraga. Super Gauge 2. Then number 3, we've got Corrupted Zamasu, the Zenkai Legends Limited. You know how powerful he is because he's also been fitting on Fusion Warriors. Then all of these guys are Zenkai buffed by one person. So we've got Jiren Zenkai buffing Ultra Golden Frieza. We've got Full Power Frieza Zenkai buffing Super Baby 2. And yes, he's Zenkai buffs Powerful Opponent. And 3, we've got 8 Vegeta, who's Zenkai buffing Corrupted Zamasu. Yes, he's Zenkai buffs Powerful Opponent. And also all their Z abilities push for Powerful Opponent. So even looking at Ultra Golden Frieza, his Ultra ability is based on Powerful Opponent, not Lineage of Evil, not Frieza Force. So even if you wanted to take Ultra Golden Frieza off the leader slot, he would still be getting his maximum Ultra ability because everybody on the team would be a powerful opponent. This team has amazing synergy. Super Baby 2 and CMZ are amazing partners, for one because they both have anti-Saiyan aspect of their kit. So CMZ gets anti-Saiyans from Strike and Blast. Every time he does one of those, it's stacking up. And then Super Baby 2 gives all of his allies 30% damage inflicted to Saiyans. So that's obviously super impactful, not just for CMZ, who's already building up his own, but also Golden Frieza, who doesn't have that aspect in his kit. But this isn't the only team you can build for powerful opponents. I just think it's the best team. Let's look at the other options just in case you don't want to run a team like this. As you will see, there is some other options that kind of blend into another team, which I might speak about later. So if we look at the characters here, make sure to change your filter though. Sparking, Ultra, character tag, powerful opponent. Press OK, press OK. If we're looking at blue, I recommend Kid Buu. Kid Buu is a sleeper Zenkai here. Even though he's a range type, it might mess up the synergy of your team. Pay attention to that yourself. He's super insane, not to be slept on at all. He has endurance as well, which is super dope. Other than him, Ultra Super Janemba, but it depends on your stars. I would say maybe 3 copies at minimum to use him, but Kid Buu is like clearing him so easily. Outside of that, the blues are kind of dead in my opinion. Going into green, I think the 2 obvious choices are Legends Limited or Mega Shenron, simply because of the indestructible. It shouldn't even need to be a debate. He's super good on GT as well, which I spoke about earlier. But for him himself, he's also able to add some factors, do some good damage. He's range type, so think about the synergy on the team. He could fit with Kid Buu, for example. Also, he could be a victim to Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, given that he's green. Greens are in a very vulnerable position, but the Indestructible does give him some work. He has heavy bleed and things like that, and he can feint, I believe. Super annoying unit to fight if you can get into the right situations with him. And Evil Majin Buu, you know his healing factors are insane. He cancels buffs if, I believe, a Rising Rush, Blue, Ultimate Awakened, any of those come his way. He heals a lot. Breaks combos. It's actually insane how good he is for a 1% sparking. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the greens. If you really wanted to use a green, which I wouldn't recommend, nobody else really stands out. I'm not going to lie. I'm not even going to mention anybody else. I'll just say those 2. Going into purples. Purples, obviously, we got Ultra Golden Frieza, your main man. If you didn't want to run him, which I don't see why you wouldn't want to run him, because he's literally the best option. We've got Cell. We got Jiren. Jiren was a Zenkai buffer, but of course you could run him. Very much think about the type. He's a range type, so when you're building teams, you don't want it to be mixing too much either way. You want to keep it either melee orientated or range type orientated, depending on who you're using. Then going into yellows, we've obviously got Super Baby 2, who I actually frontlined on the team. He's like my main pick. Other than that, maybe Ultra Kid Buu if you have him higher than 10 stars. He is a good option because he cancels buffs, which is obviously effective for like the likes of, like, I don't know, Super Vegito maybe. If using Super Vegito, not to be slept on as well, because he locks in with his blue card if his gauge is filled. And he has endurance, which is obviously dope. And then for reds, we've got quite a few options. So I spoke about Corrupted Zamasu because of the anti-Saiyan aspect. But we do also have Super 17 who's here. And I wouldn't recommend it, but depending on what units you're running, you could run Ultra Omega. And the reason I wouldn't recommend it is because his Platinum equipment requires him to be run with 3 GT members to get the most out of it. So unless you're going to be running Super Baby 2 and the Legends Limited Omega Shenron, I don't recommend running Ultra Omega Shenron. But it's an option you could use if you did want to use him on a powerful opponent team, just to put that out there. Anybody else I missed? I don't think so. Maybe in the blue section, I could have brought up this guy here, God Destruction Beerus, and this guy here, who could also be used with Ultra Golden Frieza, depending on the route you wanted to go, because he has a revival layer. But revival is kind of vulnerable as well because of Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta's ultimate, who makes them revive with 70% less health. And then, of course, Super Vegito, the fusing one, when he rushes revival units or just takes them out, he gets buffs from that and Dragon Ball's back, which is insane. So yeah, that's powerful opponents, the second team. I think it's actually a very good team. If I had Super Baby 2, I'd actually be running it consistently, even though I'm not a fan of Ultra Golden Frieza. Circumstances allowed me to get him, so that's the team right here. Let me know what you guys think about it. If you're running powerful opponent, I think it's a sleeper team, but it's definitely up here in the conversation. Next up, number 3, we got Fusion Warriors, and somebody's probably thinking, why the hell is Zach showing me this team for Fusion Warriors? Well, I think this team is one of the most fun teams, but toxic teams to use in PvP if you are running Fusion Warriors. But obviously, it's not the only Fusion Warrior team you can use. I'll show you some other options later, but let me talk about this team here. So you can see there's a quadruple Zenkai buff for Ultra Vegito Blue. G4 doesn't get any Zenkai buffs, but he's on the leader slot, so he's getting all the Z abilities anyways. You can Zenkai buff G4 if you wanted to use Purple Super Vegito, who's also going to give a HP option, but I've decided not to do that because I also wanted to triple Zenkai buff 4 times if you count himself, Corrupted Zamasu, who's a big anti-Saiyan player. Now, the reason why this team is so toxic is because Corrupted Zamasu and G4 both have explosive greens, which allow you to get free combo starters if you vanish step a strike cards or even a blast starters, depending on how you play your cards. Then, UG4, everybody knows his ultimate just one shot, so if you get his ultimate off, it's a one shot. CMZ, if you're fighting a Saiyan, his ultimate can also one shot if you just build him up just a tiny bit, plus the 4 times Zenkai Burst. If you include himself, it's 4, otherwise it's 3. And then if we look at Ultra Vegeta Blue, who I haven't spoke about, and surprise, surprise, actually, I think I might be able to show you right now. People haven't been insanely using him, and I know this is a bit of Ultra Vegeta Blue prop, but he's made it to the top 6 of most used units for players that are BR70 and above. Most used. So that doesn't imply he's the 6th best unit in the game. It just implies people are using him. But if people are using him, he must be somewhat good, which is why I wanted to show this team. But his Vanish removal, and depending on his stars, I think if you have him 10 stars or higher, he's usable. Below that, I wouldn't recommend. 10 stars or higher, he's been out for over a year and his ultimate is still nuking people. He's removing Vanish, and his green card allows him to actually just counter and hit a blue card, you know. Then he's also able to get cover null pretty easily. Now, I just wanted to prop this team because it's my favorite team to use right now just for fun. But obviously, let's get into what other options you have on Fusion Warriors. So if I go to my character list here, change the filter. So we want to find Fusion Warrior this time. Let's look for it right there. Okay. If we look at the blue options, you could actually run this blue Vegito. 14 stars only though. No 14 stars, he's not cooking for you. His ultimate is really his main thing. He can do a few strikeouts here and there, but his ultimate is what's going to make you win a game. If you miss the ultimate, I don't think he's that much usable. Cool, but obviously the main blue, we're talking about fusing Super Vegito. It should go without saying how valuable fusing Super Vegito is. His Rising Rush is going to be pretty much immortalized in Dragon Ball Legends. This guy could dead be alive in 3 years' time. Unless the power creep is so high, you know, which is unlikely, because we have units that are 3 years old that can sometimes do damage. Super Vegito here is going to be here to stay. Going into greens anyways, I wouldn't recommend running a green, even the new Legend Limited Omega. Some people have leader slotted him because of his indestructible, but running a green in this meta is already kind of risky. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's something that you can do. Outside of that, I wouldn't recommend running Pycon, even though he has a revival unit layer. I think Fusion Warriors is more based on just doing output damage. They're so good because of G4. The output is what really carries them. Purple, we're going into G4. Nobody else should be in the discussion. Sorry, Ultra Gogeta Blue, your time has come. SV here is pretty dope for a HP buff though. At 14 stars, he buffs HP specifically. And he's a Zenkai buffer for Fusion Warriors, so that's good for G4. Going into yellow, without saying Gogeta Blue is going to be your man. Do not sleep on him. Outside of that, I don't think we should be looking at any other yellows. And then for reds, we've obviously got CMZ in priority order, in my opinion. Then Ultra Vegito Blue. You could also have Super 17. And if you want the endurance out of Ultra Omega, you can get that, but you won't be getting the GT aspect because you're not running 3 GT units on Fusion Warriors. Ultra Omega G4, then who are you going to run? Legend Limited G4? Maybe Super 17? Not really the best teams if you're asking me. But cool, just for the team purposes, I think people would want to see, obviously because I put UVB, I was kind of glazing, you know, because I have been using him and a lot of people have been using him. You would want to take him off and put Gogeta Blue because of his strike assault. That should go without saying. Then you change the bench just a bit, so I wouldn't actually go ahead and Zenkai buff this guy a lot. What I would do is take off these 3, then I'd put the HP buff here. I'll put Super Saiyan 3 Gold Tanks for another HP buff. So now you've got a double HP buff on Fusion Warriors. Then you can decide for the last spot how you want it. You can get a Z ability because these guys are Legends Limited. You could get another Zenkai buff for this guy with Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Even though Zamasu won't be getting that Z ability because it's Super Saiyan 3 Goku. You could go ahead and obviously just Zenkai buff CMZ, and then everybody gets a Zenkai buff, while also a double HP buff is working. Even though this guy doesn't buff these guys, it don't matter because this guy's getting buffs from these guys. It's a one-way system, you know. Or you could just take off CMZ as well, then put Fusion Vegito back on, put Namek Goku, and then these guys will be getting everything. Plus you have the double HP buff. If I want to show you what I'm talking about when I say Namek Goku, just in case somebody doesn't know, is this one here. So then you got the team like this, you know. It just depends on how you want to go about it. Fusion Warriors has a lot of like ways you could mix it up, but it's mainly going to be G4, Gogeta Blue, the fusing one, Vegito, Super Vegito, the fusing one, and then Corrupted Zamasu. Those are your 4 Fusion Warrior options. You need at least 3 out of 4 of them to run Fusion Warriors effectively, in my opinion. Ultra Vegito Blue could be like a sly 5th, and that's about it, low key. But depending on how you wanted to go about it, that's Fusion Warriors. I believe it's the number 3 team I've mentioned in this video. Now, this team here is a sleeper, and obviously it was good in the part 2 of the anniversary, but people are still using it for obvious reason. Ultimate Gohan is insane, and even this Zenkai Legend Limited Kid Buu has shown his value. But let's talk about this team here. what I found is that they don't have a lot of Zenkai buffs that synergize well, but because the units are actually good, it's good enough with just Z abilities and maybe one Zenkai buff. So you see in this case, I've got the Buu tanks here. I believe he's Zenkai buffs Majin Buu Saga. His Z ability is regeneration power for opponent, but for this specific build, the only person that I'll have that is not going to be basically a regeneration unit or getting fed from Majin Buu Saga is on the leader slot. So you could have fusing Super Vegito. Mainly, what people most run is Ultimate Gohan. So you will have double endurance from Kid Buu and Ultimate Gohan. Ultimate Gohan cancels buffs from Rising Rushes, Blues, Ultimate Cards, Awakeners, I believe for the first 3 times, which is kind of hard to get out of, you know. He's going to be able to cancel those buffs all the time. And then the third one will be Evil Majin Buu. He's getting Zenkai buffed by the Fat Buu over here, but he's good at breaking combos and he also cancel buffs. So the odds of you getting rushed and losing your endurance from somebody is like super low when you're running double endurance as well with 2 units that cancel buffs. It's actually insane. But let's go to the character list. Let me change the filter. So in this case, you want to go to episode and you want to change it to Majin Buu Saga. Now, if we're looking at options that are usable, should go without saying I already had Kid Buu on the team. We should go without saying fusing Super Vegito for the blue. Outside of that, I don't recommend any other blue really and truly. Going into green, do we have any greens? The Evil Majin Buu's Pure Evil. Outside of that, I don't recommend any of the greens straight up. Going into purple, Ultimate Gohan should go without saying. He's one of the best units in the game. And outside of that, I don't recommend any other purple. Going into yellow, this might surprise you, but this girl here, sorry, Bayteen 18, we love her. She's an amazing support option. She gives a lot of support for all the Majin Buu Saga units. If I can find it, I believe it's, so her main ability here, 30% to allies, which is good, but I believe in her unique, I think she buffs Majin Buu Saga, but I might be mistaken with that. She restores health here and damage inflicted for allied Majin Buu Saga. There we go. So yeah, that's why she's also good, and she quite likely tanks a lot. I'm not joking. So I'm not trolling you. I'm dead serious. A lot of the god rankers run that free to play 18. Do not sleep on her. Then going into reds, we've got Shin. Shin is a combo breaker as well. Can be used to your benefit. He steals a lot of cards so you can't play. He's not a joke. Don't sleep on him as well. Majin Buu Saga's got some weird orientations, but as long as you've got the pieces, you can run the team. This is pretty much the team. The 2 pieces are missing, Ultimate Gohan leader slot, and it would be Evil Majin Buu. You don't have to run it exactly like this, of course. You could change it up. So a lot of people do run the free to play 18, put her on this option, for example, instead of the TN, because she could actually run into the battlefield. So you have an option of 4 units to bring, even though it's only 1 team. Do you get what I'm saying? But you have to think about the Z abilities as well between the rest of the team, just so you guys are aware. But yeah, that's going to be Majin Buu Saga. It's actually one of the sleeper teams as well. It will be coming up, trust me. If you haven't seen it, you're maybe just not high ranked enough, but people do love running Ultimate Gohan, and the Kid Buu, the Zenkai one, he is not a joke. He is very, very good. So yeah, number 4, I believe, Majin Buu Saga. So the fifth team we've got here is Son Family, and I almost wasn't going to put it in, and I have no reason not to, besides from the fact that obviously I just haven't seen this team in a while. But let's not act like this team isn't insane, you know. We've got both Fusion Warriors from part 1, and then leader slot easily Ultimate Gohan, or top 5-6 units, however you want to see it. Gogeta and Vegito. Gogeta's like the best counter against Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Then we've always got Vegito, who can just counter everybody because the Rising Rush is a guaranteed hit every single time. And then if we look at the leader slot option, Ultimate Gohan, who cancels buffs, he has endurance, he does insane damage, he removes vanish, he does everything you pretty much want him to do. So the team actually has a lot of stock, and you can see how I've got it here. I've got a double Zenkai buff for fusing Super Vegito, single Zenkai buff for Gogeta Blue, where it's also HP buff for the whole team, and Ultimate Gohan's on the leader slot, but the base is Son Family. But of course, there's a lot of options here which we need to get into, so I'm going to change my filter, change the character tag, and then we're going to go to Son Family, which should be high up, but yeah, it's right there. So in the blue option, we got fusing Super Vegito. He's going to be your main man. If you didn't want to run him, you can go Bomku or Bardock and Goku, who are very much tiers below. Like, it's actually a big difference. Going into green, Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and Godku are your 2 options. I would personally go Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan over him, but I wouldn't run a green in the first place, given that Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta exists. He's that much of a threat. But of course, I just need to mention them as options because not everybody has what I have. Going into purple, Ultimate Gohan should go without saying. He's the main man you're going to be running. If you're not running him, I wouldn't even recommend running a purple. Going into yellow, Gogeta Blue should go without saying, but if you didn't have him or don't want to run him, you could also run Ultra UI Goku, who's also somewhat of a good option. And then in the red option, even though the reds are all bad options in my opinion at this point in time, we've got Pan as a support who people are actually using, and Beast Gohan, who's kind of aged, but people like to stick to him, you know. But yeah, Sun Family is a good team. I think that goes without saying because Vegeta and Gogeta on it and Ultimate Gohan. But there's a couple of pieces here and there that are outside of those main three that could be used, but obviously not keeping up with those main three. So it's kind of strict when you're running Sun Family now. They went from such a high pedestal to just like maybe in the conversation, but they're still up there. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. It just doesn't synergize as well as maybe some of the other teams will, in my opinion anyways. And I've kind of been seeing them less and less. But number 5, nonetheless, deservedly on this list, we've got Fusion Warriors. Now, for the first honorable mention, we're going to have God Key. I also think this is a step down from the other teams that I've mentioned, but it's not unusable, you know. Now, I only put Ultra Vegeta Blue on the leader slot because it's an option that I have, but obviously that should be God Goku. Even though God Goku is, boy, not as good as people would like him to be, that's who should be on the leader slot. We got Gogeta and CMZ who basically make this team Fusion Warriors, but I've made the bench God Key so it sticks, you know. We got Red Rose who's going to be Zenkai buffing CMZ, I believe, powerful opponent, and the Z ability is God Key, so that works. We got this God Goku who's going to be giving a good Z ability for HP and critical, and we've also got this Kaioken Goku, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku, who's going to be Zenkai buffing Gogeta Blue. But it doesn't need to be like this specifically, it's just an example that I've built. Obviously UVB is not getting anything. I could have easily just made it the bench Fusion Warrior as well. Since these top 3 are Fusion Warriors, you'll be running double red yellow, but that makes you a victim to any blues like Kid Buu and fusing Super Vegeta, which is risky as hell to play. So yeah, let's actually change the filter. So I'm going to go back out actually, go to character list, let's go to filter, change the tag from regeneration to God Key, just so I can show you what options exist. So if we're looking at blue, Vegeta Blue is an option you can run, 14 stars or nothing though. Beerus is going to be the main blue otherwise. Going into green, we got God Goku, that should go without saying. If I'm looking at any others, maybe Evo Ken 14 stars and then you're still begging it, you know, it's a bit far-fetched in my opinion. Going into purples, the purples are not looking great. I would just avoid them. The yellow, obviously Gogeta Blue and Ultra UI are going to be your main 2. For red, CMZ's top 1, but then as a secondary option, you can pick between Shin and Ultra Vegeta Blue. Them 2 there at the bottom, they could be options. Then your bench is based on how you're running it. So with this team, I could easily just make the team Fusion Warrior, you know, and you wouldn't even notice the difference. Let me actually change this and show you how similar it is. I could literally just go bang, bang, and it's still basically the same team that I've been building, you know, similar to Fusion Warriors. And then I could just have this one be the God Goku for HP buff if I wanted to. I could even just put Gotenks on the bench because CMZ and Gogeta Blue are Fusion Warriors as well, and it's still God Key, but the bench is Fusion Warriors. You see what I'm saying? So just depending on how you want it to go about it, but of course the God Key mains are going to run God Goku, which is what I advise you do as well, because he has endurance anyways and explosive green, and I think he's also immune to AoE greens, which is similar to Gogeta Blue. So you've got 2 people that are immune to AoE greens, which could come in clutch. Don't sleep on that. But yeah, that's the first honorable mention, God Key. Now for the last honorable mention team, I was going to use regeneration, but I felt like there's no point because regeneration is basically powerful opponent, and there's no point of having a lower version of that exact same team on the list when powerful opponent it just exists and it's beautiful and it's practically perfect, you know, with the way it is. So I decided to mention movies because the Goku guys gotta get something. But it's not even because of him, it's mainly Gogeta Blue and Golden Frieza. The comeback is really, really valuable. It's undeniably valuable in the game. It's not revival, so it doesn't get the downsides of what revival gets, like Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogetas, Ultimate making them revive with 70% health, and like Vegeta fusing Super Vegeta or Rising Rushing and then getting, or just taking them out and getting buffs from it, you know, because it's not revival, it's comeback. It's a technicality, but hey, and on top of that, Ultra Golden Frieza does damage. Gogeta Blue being the best counter in the game for Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta should also go without saying with his Strike Assault. As flawed as it may be, it's the best option you got to counter that crap, where he's able to just, you know, untouchable G4. And then Godku, he's got endurance, he blocks AoE green cards, which also Gogeta does, so you get 2 on this team. Even though having a green unit is insane right now, Godku can do amazing work with his ultimate, and the endurance layer is always valuable. On the bench, I've got a Zenkai buff for Golden Frieza, I've got a Zenkai buff for Gogeta Blue, then I've got a HP buff for the whole team, which is a Sagas from the Movies one with Goku. But let's look at what other options we have, which isn't a lot, at least good options. So if I go to character list, change my filter, go to episode, Sagas from the Movies. Why am I not seeing it? Where's my eyes? There it goes. Okay. If we look at the blue options, people might want to give props to this Broly. I personally wouldn't. I think you have to work for him too much. I'd say by far the best option is Beerus. Janemba is also a good option, but I'd say 10 stars or higher. Blue's not looking too good, but those are the ones I would recommend if you desperately did want to run one. Green is obviously going to be God Goku. If you desperately do want to run a green that's not God Goku, I'd say Pycon maybe. And that's about it. Going into purple, Golden Frieza without saying, nobody else is on his level. Going into yellow, Gogeta Blue. Anybody else on his level? Not really, but if you wanted a second man, go Tanks, I would say. Just because he has endurance, I believe. And then red, again, not really up to par, but Pan is a good support people still use to this day. She's aged amazingly. And then Beast Gohan, who's not who he used to be, but he can be used. Movies is obviously not up to par with the rest of the teams I mentioned, I think, but it can be used, which is why I'm mentioning it. But yeah, man, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Like I said, this is a 2-part series, so I will be doing another one for the Proud Battle teams. I feel like that's something I should do because Proud Battle is very valuable right now. A lot of people are using it to rank up, and it's a lot easier to rank up in Proud Battle than it is in Standard, as long as you're winning both games. If most people run away and then you are not able to actually get anything from it, so you're just wasting your time, I think it's worth it, and I will make that video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, man. If you haven't already, make sure to press that subscribe button. We're on this grind to 100,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.